As we're live. So everybody smile. All right, the meeting will come to order. Um, I'll go ahead and read the minutes and then Brandy, then we can start with you. And then you can leave whenever, or you can stay with the entire meeting, however you feel. So the February 24th meeting was called to order by Nick Bales. Those attending were Brenda, Larry, myself, Stace, Justin, Michael, Dustin, Gordon, Christy, Evan, and Courtney. The November minutes were read. Larry moved to accept the minutes. Jeff second, motion passed. Stace mentioned heating system in the kitchen area and meeting room not working, and will use what maintained they've got presently at the time. Jeff said grass truck 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Brenda discussed some of the House and Senate bills. Stace has volunteered to contact Brandy at RT Insurance to give us an update on the latest. Nick asked if anyone be in favor of every other month to meet, but there was no interest. Jeff moved to adjourn. Michael seconded, motion passed. Yours truly. So is there a motion? Oh, I keep forgetting. Larry, I remember. General fire fund 49,505.90. We paid a bunch of insurance last month, Brandy. Building equipment fund 284, 251.72. So is there any questions about the minutes? If not, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So, second.
All in favor? All right. Well, Brandy from RT Insurance, we try to get her every year or two. I don't, was it been 2 years?
2 years.
Okay. So, she's going to pass out some info and anything that bugs you about insurance. Now's the time to pick her brain.
Like you said, my name's Brandy Brandenburg. I've been with RT Insurance for 20 years. Been working on fire department insurance for 20 years. It has been a slight passion of mine, if you could say. So we have 200 fire departments throughout the state of Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Arizona currently. We are very
Arizona. You're clear out there?
Huh?
You're clear out there?
Yeah, sure do. We
Wow.
just wrote our 4th policy out there right now. We have an agent that goes back and forth. I'm a little jealous that she gets to go back and forth there, but you know, nobody asked me what I thought. So this goes over a lot of information. So I'm going to keep going. If you guys have questions or whatever, please feel free to stop me. There's a lot of information in here. I put it on paper form so you guys can take notes if you want to, refer back to it or what have you. So the first page, obviously your name, address, all of that. Second page is anybody who's additionally insured on your policy right now. You guys have blanket additional insured as required by written contract, so it doesn't cost you anything to add them on here. I would prefer, God forbid I get hit by a train tomorrow. I want whoever takes my position to be able to pick your policy up and know from start to finish what's going on. So if you have an auxiliary, if you have a cadet program that has a different name, I would recommend, even though there's additional insured additional insured is included as required by written contract in your policy, I would prefer for it to be spelled out in our system. So if you have any of those, let me know and I can just add them to my system. So I just want everybody to know what's there. If you have a mutual aid contract, you have a contract with a township, a lot of times they will want to be listed as additional insured, which is very common. Any questions on that?
Well, Sugar Creek Township, what's,
At some point, we were asked to be added as, you add them as additional insured. Did you do anything with them?
Does Johnson Township go into that?
Really do, but
We don't get money. You don't get no money?
I don't know. But when, and I was, because they don't buy that truck for them. Or they don't buy Kirk truck. You got a Johnson Township address, didn't they?
I didn't know. I'm just asking.
I think that's right.
yeah, I don't know anything about the Sugar Creek.
I'm sure Johnson Township.
And I can delete it if you want me to. Like I said, this is just something I keep a record of in case somebody asks for a certificate of insurance or something happens to me.
Yeah, technically, I don't know of any significance to that.
I can take that off of there.
These addresses are.
And they might be old addresses since they're not actually on the policy.
Warren Township, that'd be Don Grice's, I believe, which is, he's the past trustee, which Larry's Warren Township trustee now.
Yeah, and I can update that if you guys want to give me some addresses. Like I said, it's not on the policy, it's in my system.
Yeah,
Johnson Township, by Rawlings is on that.
and then Michigan Township need to,
Yeah, you guys are already on the policy because you're part of the policy itself. Second page talks about your property list, your buildings and what they're covered for, and then your contents coverage. So your contents coverage does not include any firefighting equipment, gear, or apparatus. This is just tables, chairs. If you were to pick the building up, turn it upside down, anything that falls out of it that is not firefighting equipment, gear, or an apparatus, that would be what the contents are. So we can increase that, lower it if you want. You guys choose that number. So you tell me what you want there. Contents at Station 2, we've got 110,250. Like I said, no firefighting equipment or gear. So if you want us to lower that amount or increase it, we can do that.
No, what do you consider Station 1 and Station 2?
The new building, I believe, is Station 2, because they go off of when you have a building on a policy and then you add a new building, you just add this to.
So Station 1's the old buildings.
Yes.
What they were doing, wait a
Supposed to be.
minute. I thought they were tearing them down or something.
I think we still got stuff in.
If you guys don't have a lot of stuff, like what do you have in them, do you know? In Station 1?
They got a truck that someone Sheridan gave them that they're dismantling. Trying to sell, get rid of it somehow. Gordon just he's over me and he's got a lot of sticks in the iron. And the fire.
Because we can take the contents off if you guys don't have.
I'm,
Okay.
you're not talking the right person.
Okay.
Looks like I need a new fire station because my ain't worth half of what you guys are.
So if something would happen to his fire station, and this is listed at What? $63,000,
Can't build it for that.
you can't even get half of it.
It'll be 1.5 million.
Yeah, I can ask the company to rerun a replacement cost on that, because I know that they did them a few years ago. But let me ask them to run new RCs on those.
Yeah, I understand the other two because they're new.
Mhm.
But then a replacement would cover most of that, but
Yeah.
still be lacking probably in today's market. Yes.
You could replace this building for $463,000.
Are there, is it just the one building that might be coming off, Station One? Or you said buildings, that's why.
Yeah, well, there's two old buildings and then the new building.
Okay, so Station One might be coming off, then,
It's supposed to be, yeah.
okay. So I'll ask the company to run new replacement cost estimates on these buildings and send them over to you.
Yeah.
Okay. We have two, liability only locations on the policy.
Is that when you had the, out at, Connie Coleman's? Is that that?
Yeah, that's right. Now that can come off,
Both of them?
yes.
Right.
You'll have to buildings to.
No, it's been sold.
It's all gone.
Okay.
Something come off.
McNeil has a program where if you haven't had any claims in the past 3 years, they can waive your deductible up to $1,000. So just keep that in mind.
Does the premium come down theoretically like it does in your household if you raise that deductible?
Yep, and I can get you guys a couple quotes for increasing it if you want. If you want to do like 20, they don't, some of the companies won't go over, it depends on the company. Some of them they won't go over 5,000. Some of them, 2,500. What do you want one for 2,500 and then see if I can get 5,000, or do you just want the 2,500? We can do 1,500.
Well, once you get a quote for 25 and 5, see what difference is, please.
Can I touch base on contents on Forest real quick?
Yep.
We just got a cascade system. That cascade system's $50,000. That would be included, right?
Firefighting equipment,
That
in
is,
here, right?
okay.
And then permanently attached to the building.
It's not bolted to the floor,
Okay.
It's semi-permanent.
but I mean, would that be that firefighting? I mean, that's to fill our bottles. So is that considered firefighting equipment?
Yeah, and I'm gonna skip ahead by making this comment, but you could have $5 million worth of firefighting equipment and gear. We don't need a list. It's on guaranteed replacement cost. And if I had a choice, that's where I put it. I can schedule it if you want, but then you're not gonna get as good of coverage. So if we leave it as firefighting equipment and gear, then it's replacement costs.
I just wanted to make sure I touched on that. So
And then are you comfortable with the contents coverage? Like for everything else, tables, chairs, microwave,
Tools.
tools.
let's move it to 75,000.
You keep it all on this list. Be good to keep it off the fight food. Understand, I had to do that at work one time.
Each of them got a generator, is that considered contents
Is it permanently attached or,
sitting outside the building?
okay, and it's wired in?
Yeah.
And it's, on concrete pad or?
Yeah.
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 Okay, so it's considered part of the building then.
Good question.
Do all of them have generators? Do all of them have generators?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
Next page, you don't really have to look at that, it just shows you what coverage A, B, and C mean. Next page talks about your property extensions. You don't pay any extra for these. And these policies are based off of policies out of New York when they modeled the policy. So a lot of these coverages are really high and you'll never use them. So like the computer equipment, communication equipment, 250,000. Business income, you guys don't charge for your services, so that really doesn't affect you, but it is included in the policy. A couple that I want to draw your attention to is newly acquired property up to 2.5 million. So if you unintentionally, forget to tell me about a property, there is some coverage on there. The company's trying to be a stickler about 60 days. You know, it's within, a claim is within 60 days, because you should probably be letting me know. Foundations, underground pipes, retaining walls, flues, or drains. Insurance doesn't typically pay for anything that's buried. So, you can get special endorsements for that, but usually it's not covered. So your foundation, stuff like that. So think about if we had to dig up your parking lot as a pipe bust or something like that, this will help pay for that. Commandeered and impounded property is included at ACV. ACV is actual cash value. So if you commandeer somebody's property, we're not talking about fire department members, we're talking about the general public. And something happens to that property, there is coverage for that. And I'm not gonna go through each one of these, because some, like I said, you'll never use some of this. The spoilage, like if you have fish fries and stuff like that, I know it's a lot of money, 250,000. All the departments are like, we would never have that much food at one time here. But if you have a freezer, you have a fundraiser, a bunch of fish in there and stuff, and it goes out, stuff like that, you have spoilage coverage on here. Sewer and backup of drains. So even if you're on a slab, it's a very good coverage to have. So think about it like invited water versus uninvited water. Invited water is water that you invite into your building through a drain or a pipe, right? Or some sort of, you invite it into your building. Uninvited water is water that flows over the ground or seeps in through walls and windows, and that is flood. That is not typically covered under policies. You normally have to have a separate policy for flood. You do have flood coverage in here, but we'll get to that in a minute. So think about it like something happens and water that came through a pipe or a drain, somehow it comes up into your building. It might not damage your floor, but it could damage your cabinets, your walls, stuff like that. So that's where this coverage is very important. Okay. Next page is more property extensions. It's the flood and earthquake coverage. We were talking about your percentage deductibles. Does anybody have earthquake coverage on their house? Okay. Earthquake coverage comes with a percentage deductible, and it's usually 5%. You get 5 or 10, 15% on earthquake normally, and it is a percentage of your total property, not a percentage of your claim. So if it's a percentage, if your building is 1.4 million and you're paying 5% or even a 1%, even if you had to do that, that's a huge deductible. We don't do that on flood and earthquake. We cap it at $1,000.
Question. So on an earthquake, you have the event, and then you can have aftershocks, but that is just one event. Or how many ever aftershocks you do have?
Yes.
Okay.
Next page talks about equipment breakdown. So it cannot be for just basic wear and tear. If something's old, right? You walk on your carpet, you put a hole in your carpet, eventually they're not going to pay to replace that. But if a part breaks in the furnace, and it can't be you didn't maintain it, right? If you didn't maintain it, that's neglect, it's not covered. But if a part breaks, lightning hits the building, surge protection, stuff like that. If you have an equipment breakdown situation, generators, heating and cooling system, a lot of you guys don't have the traditional telephone systems anymore, so that's not a really good example. But equipment breakdown is covered under the policy. You look like you have a question.
So let's say you have a HVAC unit, after 5 years goes bad. And now
This was a short amount of time.
they can no longer replace it because now it's outdated. Does something like that fall into there?
Yep, possibly can. I can't tell you that it's absolutely covered. I can tell you that that falls under this coverage, and we can absolutely turn in a claim.
Already paid something
How long ago was it?
3 months ago. Ooh.
Get me your receipt, get me the bills, get me the date that you think it happened. And on the bills, if you've already paid them, make sure you let me know, hey, we've already paid this. Because I hate it when they pay the contractor and then come to find out you guys actually paid it. So. Okay.
Okay.
General liability on the next page. So you guys have a $10 million aggregate limit, so you could have up to 10 $1 million claims before your insurance went, no more on just your liability. Talk about the autos and stuff later. You have $5,000 of med pay. Now think about it like this. Med pay is going to pay for visitors, not for you guys. Technically, if you guys get hurt here, it's work comp. Okay, so say I come to visit, grass is all grown up, you guys left a hose out, I trip and fall and break my ankle. First thing they're gonna do is try and pay it under med pay. We'll write you a check, will go away. But let's say it, my claim's really big, I broke my leg, that kind of stuff, then your liability will kick in after that. Okay? Work comp is on you guys. Med pay for your premise is for visitors. Okay, does that make sense? Good. Liquor liability is included on events 10 days or less. You can't supply alcohol, you can't sell alcohol, but you can do host liability. So like if you have a fundraiser and you have food trucks and you have a wine garden and they come out, they set up a wine garden, they should have their own liquor liability. But if they start to sue somebody, they're going to sue everybody and their brother. My favorite all-time claim is I knew that stop sign was there. I blew through it anyway because I've lived on this street my entire life, but I blew through it. And because I got in an accident, I want to sue the city, the county, everybody in the neighborhood because I don't like where you put that sign. I don't think it was noticeable enough. Right? They are going to name everybody in a lawsuit. So host liquor liability is where that falls. So if somebody overserves somebody and you guys get sued, we will represent you for that. Next page talks about your general liability enhancements. There are a couple I want to highlight. Contractual liability, we talked about that. If you have additional insurance as required by written contract, it is covered under the policy. We talked about host liquor liability. Owned watercrafts up to 35 feet. You guys don't have a watercraft, correct? Okay. Non-owned aircrafts and watercrafts. So think about Lifeline. So if you guys get pulled into a lawsuit, you were telling Lifeline where to land and you did something wrong and they sue you, those are those kind of things. Commandeered and impounded property, we talked about that a little bit. Fire service liability, these are very important coverages. So emergency services liability, medical malpractice. So medical malpractice, I will see a lot of people come to me with fire department policies that, because you could go anywhere, you could go State Farm, right? But I have seen them come in a lot of times and they don't have medical malpractice on there because some agents don't realize that as emergency services representatives, you have to have medical malpractice. They think it's only for nurses or doctors. They don't always apply it to you guys. So it's very important that you guys have that. Good Samaritan coverage. I love this one because it follows you. Say you're on vacation in Florida and somebody's injured or whatever, and you render aid and then you get sued, we will represent you. We will represent the department and we will represent you. Dispatcher liability, you guys don't do any in-house dispatching, correct? And then medical directors. This was a topic in Lafayette because the medical directors at the hospital used to carry the insurance for the medical directors and it was fine. They stopped doing that for the fire departments. They will no longer include that in their insurance. It's automatically included on our policy. So you don't have to worry about it. Now, if you have a medical director that attends, now think about this, they can't render aid. They can only direct you on what to do. But if you have a medical director that goes on calls with you guys, sometimes they aren't going to wait for somebody else to help, right? They're going to jump in and they're going to want to help. If you have somebody that is that active, I suggest you guys put them on your roster. Because if you put them on your roster, they have the same coverage as you. If they're only acting in a medical advisor position, that's all they're covered for. Okay? Questions? No? Next, employee coverage, employment practices liability. I go to a lot of departments. I say, well, we don't need that because we don't hire anybody. But let's say you guys get together and you don't like Stace. And sorry. And you just decide you're going to get together and get him kicked off for no reason whatsoever. And he decides to sue for wrongful termination. Where this coverage would come from. Or say you guys get sued for sexual harassment. That's where this coverage comes from. Failure to hire. You guys don't technically hire somebody, but I apply at the fire department and you won't let me on for no good reason, right? Or I feel like it's no good reason. I could technically sue you for failure to hire. Now you should have stuff in your bylaws. We can get into the whole thing about felons and what you should and shouldn't do and all of that stuff. At the end of the day, it's up to you and what you put in your bylaws. But I will tell you, whatever you guys decide and whatever you put in black and white, you need to stick to no matter who it is. Because as soon as you make an exception for somebody, somebody else is going to come in and say, you didn't make that exception for me. Right? So keep that in mind. If you need any help with policies and procedures, I can email you some. Just tell me what you need. And you can make edits to them. You don't have to use those. These are just examples and things that McNeil has approved. Liability, if you volunteer on any type of board, especially not for profits, you should always have directors and officers liability coverage. You can be sued personally for anything that you do on this board. So you want to make sure that you guys are covered for that. And typically it's a separate policy, but it's included in ours. So if you make a decision that impacts somebody and they sue you personally, we are going to represent you. Employment benefits liability doesn't really apply to you because you don't offer any benefits. Fellow member liability, how do I describe this one? Okay, say you're holding a ladder for somebody and for a fellow member, and you get distracted and you leave that ladder and they fall off and they sue you. We're going to represent you. Shouldn't do that. Don't recommend it.
On directors and officers, like we have 3 trustees here. We're not on the roster, but we are help make decisions. Of course, we're all bonded, the county but that's 30,000 only.
Well, the short answer is you wouldn't typically be covered unless you're acting in the capacity for the fire department. Now, if it were me in my department, I would put you guys on the roster. Just to be safe, because you don't want any gaps in coverage, right? Like for instance, we'll have some townships that the departments are completely separate, but the department agrees to, and this is in your contract with however you write it, but some of them will have contracts where it says that the township has control over who they can hire, right? Who they can let volunteer and stuff. Well, when you do that and the township is not on the policy, then if you guys get sued, whose decision was it? Well, it was the township's policy or decision fall under the township's policy, not the fire department's policy. So you want to make sure you bridge any gaps in that. So if there's anything, you want to make sure that you guys are listed on the roster is what I would recommend.
Fall under that additionally insured on that second page, because that's the township.
Yes and no. So additional insured, as that doesn't necessarily give them rights to your policy. That just extends liability if you do something wrong and they get sued too. So it's not going to give them the same coverages and rights as you would have if you were on the rock.
I misspoke. We have 4 trustees here, not 3, but
And your township should have insurance. Now, We do have fire department policies that are township policies that covers the township. And then so it has to be rewritten as a township policy. And then the fire department would technically, it would look like they are secondary, but they're a long named insured on the policy too, which gives the fire department in the township the same rights under the policy. It is very inexpensive. The problem is you guys have this now, so you would run into it either way. You guys are a territory. If your territory breaks up, or you guys disagree on stuff and you're one territory who gets to make the decisions and all that, and then you have to break it up if the territory doesn't work out. Same situation with the township. So you could do it a couple different ways if you wanted to. More questions?
No, you don't get any for more clothing line.
You guys don't currently have cyber coverage. It can be kind of costly, but cyber coverage is on the rise. The last time we quoted you, it was $801 for that coverage for the year. During COVID, claims on cyber attacks went up something like 700% because people were working from home. These hackers are constantly looking for ways to get in. So, think about that. It's expensive though. I know everybody can't afford it. Next page talks about pollution. Do we have any on-site fuel tanks? Do you guys own the fuel tanks or do you rent them?
Furnished.
Furnished by the,
But,
okay. So that's fine. And they absorb most of the pollution liability. If you bury a tank, then it cannot be covered under this policy. We have to have a separate pollution policy. But this policy does have some built-in pollution coverage. Like I said, that liability is going to fall on the gas company though, because they own those tanks if one was to leak or something. But let's say you go to a brush fire and the truck's leaking. When you guys had the bad foam, that was a pollution claim and stuff like that. I believe everybody's got that taken care of and disposed of properly, but that would have been a pollution claim. And we can talk about if you guys have any of those foams, we need to have a separate conversation about that. But those would be examples of some pollution coverage that would follow you.
Question. I think you brought this up 2 years ago, but Gordon has his fuel tank, the station, the fire truck's fuel tanks at his premises. Shouldn't they be at the firehouse?
When you say fuel tanks,
Well, the fuel,
his fire station, it's at his house. Like ours is here.
did you say something about it should be at the station?
yeah, that or we're gonna have to list that location as a premise for pollution. And I don't know if you guys want to,
No,
because that's taking off 2 locations for liability on that in there, but I don't know that I would do that.
yeah, I would prefer to have, and he knows, I think he knows that, but the guy came around and filled up the tank, without telling them. Of course, they can pump it out, but we'll try to get those tanks moved to the new
How
firehouse.
close is it? Like, is it like?
Oh,
really close?
it's a mile.
I didn't know if it was like adjacent to or something like that.
I think he's concerned about that. Okay.
Gotcha. Next page points out that you guys don't currently have any crime coverage. So I would think, I am guessing right now, we could probably get you between 30 and 50,000 in crime coverage for about $120 a year. So I would recommend that we add that, but that is up to you. And I can always quote it and you guys, I can send you a quote with everything, like increasing the deductible, all of that stuff you want. And then I can itemize it and say, okay, if you increase your deductible, it saves you this much. If you add crime, it costs you this much and all of that stuff. And then you can pick and choose which one you take if you
But
want.
you're saying 120 for all 3 departments then?
For a blanket amount of between 30 and 50,000.
Okay.
That's for like theft,
Mm-hmm.
vandalism.
Yeah, well, vandalism is a different coverage, but it'd be like theft or, if you have faithful performance and you also have like forgery and alterations and some stuff like that.
You might make a note. I think we ought to have that. Um, now we do have locks on the doors. They're numbered,
Mhm.
secured. Does that help deduct any?
I wish it did, but no.
No.
No, but if you guys have a security system, they don't give a set discount, you know, like the homeowners, they'll say you get a 5% discount or something. They don't give a set discount. They only tell me they take it in consideration at renewal.
Yeah.
So,
Cameras too,
uh,
cameras too.
yeah, cameras, you guys, okay.
But in-house stuff be the same as somebody breaking in.
No. So, in-house theft would be somebody on the department or something like that. Theft and vandalism is somebody outside of the organization coming in and stealing something, breaking in.
So in-house, they cover that.
No,
Okay.
right now you don't have any.
Neither way.
Well, you have theft, if somebody breaks in,
Okay.
you have coverage for that. But you don't have coverage right now for crime. The other thing is,
Right on.
the other thing is the coverage, like I said, if forgery, alterations, computer fraud, all of those are things that can fall under crime. The one that they get a lot of people on, and I know this isn't going to apply to you guys, but it would be a good example. Say I'm on the payroll and it looks like I send you an email that says, please change the direct deposit of where my payroll goes, and you change it, faithful performance of your duties, right? But come to find out it really wasn't me, right? Those kind of coverages fall under crime coverage. Make sense? You can go the same way with like if you guys have write a check to the gas company and they say you get a letter or an email from them that says, hey, change where you're doing that, or now we're only taking online payments or stuff like that. You really need to verify that stuff. You know, don't call the number on the paper or the email, call the number you recognize. Okay. Next page talks about your auto liability. You have $1 million of auto liability for both the accident and an underinsured motorist, $5,000 MedPay. MedPay on your auto and MedPay for your premise are totally different. So the MedPay for your auto pays for you regardless of fault. However, you guys get injured, it's work comp. So, but let's say you have a ride along, which you shouldn't be doing. Let's just say you do. You have a ride along, that person gets hurt, you know, that's where this falls into. Say do you have any Boy Scouts or anything that come in, you know, touch a truck or something like that, you know, climbing on the truck and stuff like that, and they fall and get hurt. First thing it's going to pay out is the med pay, and then if it's a larger claim, it would go into your liability after that. Owned autos are covered, non-owned autos are covered, POVs. The POV coverage is my absolute favorite coverage under this policy, mainly because our agency is the one that changed it with the company. So the POV coverage works like this. You're driving your personal vehicle on a run. You might not be thinking very clearly about or paying attention to your surroundings because you're thinking about who's going to show up at the call. You know, it's a small community. It's somebody you know. All these things are going through your mind, and you might have an accident, and then we're going to pay all the liability, all the physical damage, and there's no deductible. Okay. Now, a claim is a claim is a claim. So any claims that you turn in are going to count in some way, shape, or manner, right, on your policy. But the coverage is absolutely there. So you hit a deer, you hit somebody else's vehicle, something like that. That's where this coverage is going to come from. Like I said, no deductible. Now, if you are on your way to a meeting, you're coming here tonight and you hit a deer, we're only going to reimburse your deductible. So then you would still have to turn it into your personal insurance. And the thought behind that is if you're in emergent mode, you might not be paying 100% attention to your surroundings. But if you're just coming to a meeting, you probably should. Right? Any questions on that coverage?
just for clarify one thing. Say Tom was going to run, but he had Jeff with him. Jeff's not on the fire department. Now, is there, and he has a
Well, the liability still pays out and we're still gonna pay for his vehicle because, he's driving his POV.
you know,
And it does happen sometimes. The worst claim I ever saw, and again, shouldn't be doing this, but we had an individual who decided that she was gonna take her kids, one of which was an infant, on a run with her and had a terrible, terrible accident. Had to go to the hospital. The insurance paid out on them. But you shouldn't be doing it. Now, we know as adults, there are some situations where you're gonna end up at the scene with somebody, your wife, somebody that's with you. Should never have minors with you if you can avoid it, right? Who's watching those minors? Are they staying out of the hot zones? What's going on? They could get injured. That also opens the fire department up to a huge liability claim because he decides to sue the fire department because, well, I didn't know that I couldn't have my kids with me and, you should have had it in your bylaws. So now I'm gonna sue you for, state of Indiana technically says that a fire department in a municipality can be sued up to $500, right? So, I mean, they can sue you for everything. Whether or not they get it is another. Did that answer your question?
Andy, so like the auxiliary, the women things, say there's a big fire or whatever, and they're out there to help, whether to clean up or provide some sandwiches, cause it's gonna be a long haul. They get injured, or they covered?
So they are not covered under the work comp. Work comp's a separate policy and we'll talk about that in a minute, but they are not covered under work comp. We can add a code to your policy to cover them if you want. But I would say 99% of my fire departments do not choose to do that. However, if they're out there and they do something wrong and they get sued, you guys get sued, as long as we have something in writing showing that they're part of the department as an auxiliary. You put them on you can be on your roster. I have a lot of departments that'll have like the regular roster to members, they'll have the auxiliary, and then below that, they'll have a cadet program or something. It's just one roster, it's just categorized differently. So you should absolutely know that they're not covered for work comp unless we add a code for that. I can get you a quote for that if you want.
So if they're. Let's see how I want to word this. We don't have an auxiliary. But there is 3 or 4 people that bring us stuff to the scene. That's not on a department.
Okay,
What's the best way to handle that in case they get hurt?
well, if they get hurt, it's not covered unless we add the volunteer code. So you would have 2 volunteer codes. You have your firefighting volunteer code, and then you would have the general public volunteer code. And technically you're supposed to keep a running roster of every event that they show up at with the date and who showed up and stuff. And I can quote adding that, but right now they're not covered.
Your dad, Sarah, and Lane.
Why don't you give us a quote on that?
So those are the 3 that are.
I'll say that's the 3 main ones.
And if it were me, I would start an auxiliary. I just name it, put it on my roster, and then put people on there. But we can also quote them, adding them to this, because we want them to be covered if they were to be doing something for the fire department and stuff.
I'm not worried about them doing something wrong. I'm worried more like slip on ice and break a leg or something like that to make sure they're covered.
I'll get you a quote for adding it.
So they would be covered if they were on auxiliary on the roster.
No.
This,
Yeah, that's for liability if they're on the roster. So work comp, we would still have to add that code because technically work comp's really weird. So let's say you're having a fundraising event You guys all show up. About 15 years ago, I had a guy who they were running a fish fry. And he was just walking. I don't know if there was grease or what on the floor, but he would fall, slipped on something, and he went to grab something, stuck his hand in the fryer.
Mm.
Right? Work comp's gonna decline those all day long. So what happens is I have to turn it into the work comp carrier. The work comp carrier is gonna decline it, and then I'm gonna take that claim and I'm gonna turn it into your accident and health policy. And your accident and health policy will pick it up after that. Neither one of those policies currently cover any auxiliary members or volunteers like that. Okay. But just know that the work comp's not going to pay for raising events and stuff like that. They're only going to pay for things that you're doing as for the fire department, as far as training, runs, things like that. It's just the nature of work comp. That's why the state law has the accident and health policy as a required policy for you guys.
Like they have their pancake sausage breakfast here.
Mhm.
And their wives help them cook and stuff like that. So the wives is not covered.
We can add a volunteer code. It's really inexpensive. So I'll quote it, and when I send it over to you guys, I'll just put that in there too. And then that'll solve that. I would also make an auxiliary so that they have liability coverage. And we good? Okay. Apparatus physical damage. Your policy includes agreed value on your vehicles. So you could technically insure vehicles a couple different ways. You could do ACV, which is the way that your personal autos are covered, is actual cash value. So they're going to depreciate for everything, right? Drive it off the lot, lose in value immediately. They're going to depreciate for wear and tear, mileage, all of that stuff. Your policy has agreed value on all your vehicles. We could change that if you want. I do not recommend it. We don't depreciate for age. That's one of the reasons that I don't recommend it. We put ACV on it, then it changes to just like your personal vehicle. They're going to depreciate for everything. Your policy, I'll get into the 75%. We'll talk about the values of the vehicles and all that in a minute. But every policy has a percentage that the company says if it's damaged, a certain percentage of the value, we're going to total the vehicle, right? So McNeil and most companies are around the 75% mark. McNeil's the 75%. So the damage to your apparatus has to be 75% of the agreed value. So I could put $1 million on a piece of apparatus. Absolutely can do that in a heartbeat. But then any damage has to be at 75% of that $1 million to be totaled, right? For you to get a check for it. So if you said, if you put $10,000 in that truck, I don't want it. Well, then we need to bring that agreed value way down. Okay. But I also don't want you guys to have an accident and not get hardly anything for your vehicle. I had a fire department that had 8 years ago had enough money on one of their vehicles. They rolled it. They got enough money to buy 2 used apparatus. So it's really up to you. And I'm sure, has anybody been to FDIC and looked at those prices of late? Trucks are expensive.
We just gotta get somebody to roll our truck.
Rick's a grasser out
Yeah,
here.
That was the last one, should be over with, right?
Physical damage enhancement. Freezing of any part of the vehicle except the engine. The engine freezes up, that's a different whole other issue. And it can't be for lack of maintenance and stuff like that. But let's say that you're out fighting the fire, it's really cold, and your pump freezes up, it's covered, right? Suck the rock into the pump, tears up the truck, covered, those kind of things. Full glass coverage, so break a windshield, a side window, stuff like that. There's no deductible, 100% covered. Substitute vehicles. So if you guys are down a vehicle and you have to borrow a vehicle from another department, there's automatic coverage under here. Now, some of the departments will say, I don't want to pay for that truck on my insurance when you're using it. So if they say that, we'll have to add it to your policy and take it off when you're done. Okay. So there is coverage for that. Newly acquired vehicles are covered for up to $1 million for 60 days. Please don't wait 60 days to let me know that you got a new vehicle. So to the next page, do you have an ATV, UTV of any kind? Those are automatically covered at replacement cost, so I would recommend that we schedule them. I can schedule them if you want, but then that gives them ACV coverage. So I would recommend if you guys do get one, that would just make it to where it's automatically covered under the policy. Your apparatus deductible vehicle coverage is a $2,500 deductible currently. Next page talks about your vehicle limits, where you're at now. I put the 75% rule in here. What your vehicles are at, what it would cost, what it would have to be damaged at to be considered a total loss. Now, if you take one of your vehicles, your apparatus, to a body shop, a lot of times the body shop will think about the age of the vehicle. So if you have a 1980 truck, they're thinking the age, and they're thinking about it like a normal vehicle. So they're depreciating their head. And they may say like, hey, that truck's not worth it or whatever. Remember, we have to be at 75%. At any point you think that the frame might be damaged or something, have them tear it down before you start fixing it. Because the company's not going to do both, right? They're not going to start paying to fix this and then also total it, right? So if you think that you're even close to the 75%, call me. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about, did you check the frame? Did you do this? Did you do that? That way, maybe get another estimate if you have to, because I don't want you to get stuck with a vehicle that they fixed, that had other damage. And if you guys want quotes increasing or decreasing some of these, all you got to do is let me know. And you could do a couple numbers if you wanted. You could send me an email and say, take that first one down to 300, or, what would it be for 350, 400? You could give me a couple numbers for vehicles or just for some of them. And I'll send you back a quote with what itemized each one of those. Okay. Any questions? Members' autos, we already talked about the POVs. I forget to mention, because I jumped ahead, was that coverage is from the time you get toned out until the first stop after the run, technically. Now, if your first stop after the run is to get gas because you used your gas to go on a run, I don't care about that. But if your first stop after the run's the bar, and it has happened, liability stops there, right? They had a guy drive off an overpass drunk after a run. So please remember, first stop after the run. Next page talks about your portable equipment. We don't need a list. You should obviously have a list, but it includes guaranteed replacement costs. Now, say you break a radio and you have to get it replaced. If you don't have the top of the line radio, you're not going to get the top of the line replacement, right? But say they don't make that radio anymore, you're going to get the next best thing. $10,000 cost to recertify. Something can't be recertified, we will replace it. $50,000 personal property. So say I have a car accident, you guys are rendering aid, and then my wedding ring comes up missing, and I am determined that you guys stole it, right? Like, they took it, I know they did. That's where this kind of stuff would come into play. Drones, do we have a drone? No, good. Okay. So there is drone coverage up to 25,000. We'll talk about privacy and all of that if you guys just decide to get one. Members, ATVs, watercrafts, snowmobiles. Has anybody been to the Cover Bridge Festival? Okay, so Juga, what they do is all of the members bring in their ATVs because it's easier to get around that way. Most of their claims are people fall and get hurt and stuff like that. So say you bring your ATV in for use under the fire department, watercraft, what have you, and it gets damaged. we are going to, pay for that. Now, it's not guaranteed replacement costs like the rest of your stuff, it's actual cash value, but there is coverage for that. Replacement cost of members' personal property. Break your glasses on a call, covered. There's no deductible. Break your cell phone on a call, it's covered, no deductible. Break your cell phone, your glasses, you lose your hearing aid during training, covered, no deductible. Claim is a claim is a claim. So if a number of years ago I did this spill, this is why I asked Stace when you called, do you want me to do it in front of the whole fire department? Do you want me to do the presentation just in front of the board? I did this in front of the whole fire department. They tried to turn in 15 broken iPhones. 15. So a claim is a claim is a claim. Coverage is there, but eventually the fire department's premiums will be affected by claims. So please keep that in mind. But at no point am I saying if you break your cell phone on a call, it should not be replaced. Saying somebody should be controlling those claims coming in and out before you guys reach out to me, right? So if you guys have a somebody in place, hey, you're in charge of claims. If anybody has any personal property that's damaged, and I have some departments the board doesn't tell the members until they come to them and say, hey, I broke this, or something like that, and then they say, okay, we have coverage.
That's
So
pretty wise.
it's really up to you how you
I remember used to, like on our portable equipment, if we broke an axe or lost an axe, we didn't turn it in, we saved it. So we broke things, then turned it all in at once, so it was one claim under one call. Thoughts?
my thoughts are claims are off of the occurrence date. So whatever date that you tell me a claim happened, that's the date that I'm supposed to use.
We didn't want, former administration didn't want to turn in a $300 pike pole.
Right. Makes sense. But you also, equipment, you have a deductible. So
Yeah.
for yours, I mean, it wouldn't make any sense to turn in a $300 claim for that.
Cause he would stockpile several things and then turn them in at the next big fire call.
Right. Well, technically claims are an occurrence. So if you have it works the same way with your building. You have hail damage today, then that claim's based off today. If you have hail damage in a week, that's a different claim, different deductible.
We jump back to the vehicles real quick, Randy.
Yeah.
I believe the 1978 Ford, I believe that's our old truck that needs to come off the policy.
$79?
In 78, it's
Oh, coming.
78 Ford,
There we go.
Ford, yeah.
I'm at the age where I can't see without my glasses, can't see with them, can't read with them.
I have to take mine off to read.
Yeah, me too. Okay, any other changes I need to mark on here?
Not for me, I don't believe.
Okay. Next page talks about scheduled equipment. You guys don't have any scheduled equipment. That's by design. Like I said, I can schedule equipment for you. Sometimes I get like, somebody will buy a John Deere tractor and John Deere. So many times I tried to tell them that it's better coverage and they're gonna make another sale if something happens to it, if I just include it as your, contents and stuff. They won't listen to me and they want it scheduled on the policy. Well, if you schedule it on the policy, then it's covered as ACV, not a guaranteed replacement cost. So I don't schedule anything unless I have. Okay. Next page talks about your umbrella liability. I did cite the law. Technically, the law says that you guys can be sued up to $5 million. Knock on wood, that hasn't happened that I know of yet. Where somebody's gotten that, they normally, the argument is they normally settle for what's on your insurance policy. That's not guaranteed. Yeah.
Just on the last page about the deductible equipment being scheduled, if it's, let's say, personal, this is off the subject, but personal for me, or say anybody, Tom, with got farm machinery, do you not schedule? Is it best not to schedule that equipment?
Correct,
Okay,
correct. I would not schedule it.
So-
Now, that's on the fire department's call.
well, I'm just talking personal,
Oh,
my
personal.
personal
That.
farm policy, whatever.
Okay, so that depends on if it's a farm policy, a lot of times you have to schedule it. It really depends on the policy. So some of them you can schedule it and you can put on their agreed value, which if you could do that, that's always good. Them won't let you do that. You have to, it'll just be ACV. So I would ask your insurance agent, how you can best cover that. But you, under farms, you do have to schedule it.
Okay,
On your homeowners, if it's just a regular homeowners and you have a lawn tractor, that's part of your contents. And that's replacement cost. And I know it's stupid. It's like your farm, you're still maintaining your property, but they look at it like a business, so it's different. Just like if you have a business and you store equipment for that business in your barn and then it's business use, your homeowners doesn't want to cover it sometimes and yada, 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 and they want to fight back and forth and that kind of stuff. So, I would ask your agent about the farm, you're probably going to have to schedule that. We put them on farm blanket, just have a list and we just total up the farm blanket that way. Next page talks about your liability coverage. Cited the law here, you can go look it up, but it basically says that fire departments and municipalities can be sued up to $5 million. I know that seems like a lot, and it is, but some states, like Illinois, they don't have a cap. So somebody could sue a department in Illinois for $10 million. I mean, the upside is at least Indiana caps it, will they ever get that? Who knows, but technically that's what the law says. So increase the liability, the umbrella, because it is just like it sounds. If you picture an umbrella, it is an extra $1 million of liability over all of those other lines that we talked about, the auto, the general liability, the D&O coverage, the EPLI, all of those coverages fall underneath there. So if you have a really bad auto accident and you exceed the $1 million, then your umbrella kicks in. Okay. Terrorism coverage. Terrorism coverage is one of those coverages that I will never be able to tell you if it's going to pay out or not, because the government has to declare it's terrorism. If they don't declare it's terrorism, then that coverage may never, pan out for you. But there have been a couple of situations where there have been arguments, and there's some of these debates in insurance, like when Katrina happened, did the wind bring the water in or did the hurricane bring the water in? Because you didn't have hurricane insurance, where did the water come from? If your house was damaged, was it hurricane or was it wind? So a lot of people tried to argue that the wind brought in the water, right? But a hurricane is wind, right? So tomato, tomato. But if you didn't have it, it wasn't covered. Kind of same scenario with terrorism coverage. So after 9/11 happened, typically what they do is a terrorist will hit the first strike, and then afterwards they want to wait until the first responders get there, and sometimes they'll do a second strike, right? So when you say you guys don't have terrorism coverage, but we get hit somewhere and you guys decide to go help, right? And then they hit again or something. Is there coverage? Is there not? Because you weren't on your home. The answer for me is always going to be buy it if you can, right? Because you never know. Also, I don't recommend it for some of my departments, like the ones in Lafayette. I try to encourage them not to, because there's a lot of factories in Lafayette that have been in the past and can be in the future switch to make ammunition and different stuff. A lot of aerospace technology in there that could, hopefully never, get hit by a terrorist attack. So I always recommend that they keep it. It is a personal preference. You guys don't have to have the coverage, but, you'll have to make that decision. The next, I don't know, dozen pages of training. So we offer, a lot of training you can do online. I would recommend that you do them if you can, because it does help when an insurance company sees that you've been working on that. To get your rate down, hey, you're trying to prevent claims, you're doing this continuing education kind of stuff. So I would recommend, if you have a meeting, you guys could always do one. If you have a safety officer, we can assign a safety officer. And then that person can sign in and say whoever is at the meeting and watching the videos, all of them get credit at the same time. You know, you could pick one that's, however long you want. Some of them are like 30 minutes long, you can do some of those. We do EVOC training. They really like to do train the trainer, train you train them. But they do EVOC training. They do it online. They will do it in person, but they usually come from New York, so they really want a larger number of people. So if you all three come together and have one, and you have a number of people in there, we could do a live training if you want to. This course right here, if you have any EMTs, need EMS training, this one is certified and it's free. So if they're paying for that right now, you can do this one and help get your certification. My finger stopped working. Okay. And then if work comp. So I put on here your work comp limits of where you're at right now. I really would like to see those higher only because med claims are going up and all of that stuff. If you're not opposed to it, I really would like to give you a quote for increasing the work comp to 500, 500, or $1 million. I can get you a quote on both if you're okay with it. At least that way you know. Right now, you only have the volunteer code on there, but if I'm going to get you a quote for adding volunteers, I might as well get you a quote for both of those. Your accident and health policy, it is required by state law. There's a brochure in here that tells you about it. It's the one that pays you for your missed time at work. It also includes a FRAX program, a first responder assistance program. There are a lot of times that, especially men, they don't like to admit when they're having a hard time with something. We had a guy who was having a hard time he lost one of his family friends. They lost their kids in a fire. And by the time we found out about it, he was suicidal because he said he could hear the kids screaming. So I would recommend that you post this flyer in here somewhere. Make sure everybody knows about it. They can call and get help. This is 100% anonymous. You won't know about it. I won't know about it. I must not have hit the color copy option when I tried to copy them, but this is completely anonymous. And it kind of tells you about it and everything, and the page before it tells you about it. Now, if it gets into where it's a situation like that, we should absolutely turn in a work comp claim. If you find out that somebody's dealing with something like that, let's get that turned in. But sometimes they just need a little help with it. Somebody talk to some resources, and this is built into your policy. I would post it somewhere so that they don't feel like they don't have anybody to come to that. Next page talks about your coverages on your accident health. I am very proud of H. We were able to add line of duty. And I know the name's going to sound misleading, but line of duty cancer diagnosis benefit. So you should have gotten some information on that with your policy. There are a few cancers that it doesn't cover, like I think like skin cancer, stuff like that. But say you get lung cancer today. So the initial payout is the $15,000 that you'll get. And it's a one-time payout. You don't get anything else. But say in 2 years, they diagnose you with colon cancer. That's a separate diagnosis. It's a separate payout. But if your doctor says that your cancer spread, that's one diagnosis. Okay, so we were able to add this. Lana, Brian, and I went to Pennsylvania to talk to the company in person, sat down with them. We spent 2 days talking to them about the coverages and what we want for the fire departments. And we got this added at no additional cost. We can increase it if you want, but that's what we can get it for at no additional cost. The next highlighted one, which I know isn't technically highlighted for you, is A in section 3, talks about your weekly disability. If you get hurt at your regular paying job and you cannot work, this is what pays you. And it'll pay up to the $650 because that's what you guys have in your policy. Technically, Indiana, I think it's like $290 a week is the the minimum that you can buy. So $650, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but we can always quote increasing it if you want. The plan 2 and 3, it was just when I was trying to quote increasing, adding your cancer, I was trying to figure out how we could add, what limit we could add at no additional cost for you. So that's why you see the plan 2 and 3. If you notice, I did the 20,000 and the 25, trying to figure out how we could get you guys coverage at no additional cost. So we can always quote increasing the weekly disability. This is the coverage that you're probably going to use the most out of this policy. It does include some death benefit in here as well, $150,000 in death benefit if it's line of duty death. So I had a guy who had a heart attack during a fire in an apparatus. Luckily, they got the vehicle stopped before he hit anything, but this policy paid out for him. They also had a group life insurance policy, which can be kind of costly, so it paid out as well. But there is death benefits. There's lots of other benefits in here as well.
So the line of duty cancer thing, how does that get linked back to, does it have to be linked back to an exposure at a certain
No, that's why I said that it's really misleading, because it says line of duty. But that's been the fight, especially since 9/11 happened. We all know that firefighters are more apt to get cancer, right? We know that. And some of us have been trying to fight getting it added to the word comp, right? But they want to say, well, how do we know that's where you got it? Right? And there are the ones that, you're exposed to this and that, but sometimes you can, but very rarely does pay out for that. So they named it line of duty cancer, but it doesn't have to be tied back to the event.
Just curious.
Right.
I know years past, it had to be linked.
Yeah.
To an exposure.
Yeah, and I would always recommend that you guys document that if you know that there's an exposure, put it on the run report, and who was there and all of that stuff. Documenting that kind of stuff was really big during COVID because, and I know that's not cancer, but the argument to begin with, argued that's nonstop with what comp until we covered it, is if you get COVID, right? Where did you get it? Did you get it when you went to the grocery store? Did you get it when you went on that run? Right? Who knows? So if you thought there was an exposure documented, well then say he's in the vehicle with you, right? Still a volunteer, but he was in the vehicle, you went in, well then you get in the vehicle and you're exposing him, right? So then you document that he's in the vehicle. So, those kind of situations, my argument with the work comp was what you're going to have, especially during COVID, was a lot of first responders that aren't going to respond because they then can't work for 10 days, 15 days, whatever it is, right?
It's already out 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If he was even exposed, I was off for 2 weeks.
Right. And your employer didn't have to pay you. Like there was, when COVID first happened, there weren't any rules established for that kind of situation. We've never been in that. And insurance is reactive, not proactive. So, a lot of times if you see a label on something, like when it says don't drink bleach, it's probably because somebody did. So insurance is reactive, so, you know, think about that. They weren't prepared for a situation like that.
Nothing, nobody was prepared for the COVID thing, but most of it was a joke to start with. I mean, our first COVID death in this county was a lady that wrapped her car on a light pole on 26. She tested positive for COVID the day before, and that she was counted as a COVID death.
Mhm.
Now, we were all exposed. Had to go get tested. One was a false positive, everybody else was a negative. But we were all quarantined for 14 days.
Yeah.
Which was just stupid.
Yeah, and there were no rules, like, who's essential? Like everybody says, well, essential employees, when they shut down, well, who was essential, right? So you had, like, my husband shut his shop down for 4 days. That was hard, you know, for,
Liquor stores were essential. You know,
I have a question.
they didn't.
Yep. So anyway, I know I talked a lot.
Very helpful.
I know I talked a lot. If you guys think of any questions, like after I leave, you can text them to me, call me. I know Stace has my cell phone number too. Oh, I can give you some cards.
Well, something, like Gordon brought it up last meeting, but like we get these documents to sign
Mhm.
on, the computer
Mhm.
and like, I don't know, some of the information
Thank you.
you said you or someone there said, well, you filled out most of it. I don't know. He just made a comment that it was,
It's the stuff that you.
Didn't
said
know
you
all
figured
the-
out something.
Okay, so
When I try to fill it out, it don't work. Don't get it to fill.
we can absolutely send it to you by regular email or mail. We went to DocuSign to try to make it easier on people. But I can absolutely, put a note in the system that you just come to you by regular email.
It's not better for me, and I think that was Gordy's problem too. He couldn't get it
Okay.
to work out. Stacy, did you have that problem or?
I think I got it.
I mean, I can't remember when it was, a year or two ago. I kept signing it, sending it back, sending it back, sending it back. It's like, I don't know where it's going. So it's like it wasn't working. And then some of the highlighted areas, I couldn't even fill them to answer the question. So, yeah, regular email worked a lot better for me and
Yeah, I can.
fill it out and send it back or whatever. So,
Yep, I'll just put a note in our system that you guys don't want DocuSign.
Okay.
And then they'll send it to you to fill out, and then you can just either scan it, mail it back, or scan it and email it back to me, or mail it to me.
Okay.
I prefer email if you can, because then that way it doesn't get lost and you don't know if it.
United States mail ain't worth crap.
well, a lot of stuff I just scan anymore with my phone and then email it back.
Yep.
So,
That's fine.
any other questions? Brandy, we appreciate it. You very thorough.
I feel like I'm losing my voice now.
You need pop or anything? We got pop or
No,
water.
I'm okay. Thank you. though.
Yeah.
Do you want the trustees' names to put in on that front page or whatever
Yeah, I mean.
tonight?
If you can get me, I don't really need the trustees themselves names, but I do need a general mailing address to put on my system. Only by default, because the system makes me put that information in. It doesn't go on the policy. So, but I want to see them. And like I said, if I get hit by a train tomorrow, I want somebody who's not as experienced with fire departments to be able to pick it up and go, yes, all of these are listed. If you're going to email me about the trucks, if you guys talk about that and email me about if you want quotes changing the trucks, you could also send me that, or whatever you want to do. Are any of you coming to FDIC this year?
no idea.
Okay, well, we have a cocktail party on Thursday. And
Is that
Friday.
during the liquor party here?
That part would be on us. So Thursday is a lot of fun. The buffet, it's a buffet, it's huge buffet. It's usually really, really good food. So good food, open bar, all of that. It's a lot of fun. Starts at 5 o'clock after 5:30 after FDIC closes. I'll send you guys over an invitation, so people can find it. And then if you're coming to FDIC, you're gonna be on the floor, stop by the booth and see me if you're there. And then Friday, we have another cocktail party. It's not as fun. There's not as much food. And a couple years ago, they had food in these little itty bitty, like you would see at a wedding, like these like clear cups. And they were like this big. So all these firemen with these big hands were trying to eat these. And then they gave them forks that were like this long. And they're like digging in there, like, and then a couple of them were like, forget it. And they just like dumped it in their mouths. So the food's not, it's usually more like appetizer, some little stuff like that. But Thursday, the food is awesome. Atmosphere is awesome. It's a lot of fun. So if you guys can come, I would love to have you. And any of your members, if they want to come. And they have a giveaway on Friday night. The giveaway on Friday night, you have to be present to win. They usually give like a tactical backpack or something away, nothing real big. But
Nick, how many tickets and passes you buy for us to go down?
What's the dates this year?
the 23rd and the 24th of April. Yeah, so it's April 20th through the 25th. But the show, the vendor show opens the 23rd and the 24th.
Cost to be what? Any cost
For
that?
To attend FDIC, you have to buy a ticket to get into FDIC, but there's no cost for you to attend the cocktail party. It's at the Marriott downtown. So you just come in the Marriott, go upstairs and find our banquet hall and you can come in. Do you have people that normally go? Like I can get a couple tickets to FDIC. I can't get a lot because they're expensive. Yeah.
I usually go.
But if you send me a list of who you want, I can see how many tickets I can get. Yeah. I'll send you an invitation so you can pass out to everybody when they have it. An invitation to the cocktail party, I should say. It's not an open invitation to the floor. I don't know why they make people get tickets to go to the vendor event. Like they should just be able to walk in. So usually there to buy stuff or to look at pricing stuff.
So is that the latest equipment, technology and all that that's shown?
Yeah, last year I was there and they had a dog, one of those robot dogs, and it was about this tall. And I know I'm short, but that's a big ass robot. And it was like had all these great big legs and it was just moving everywhere, go upstairs and everything. Looked like a dog. Something not like a dog, but a robot dog. And they had bomb sniffing stuff there. They had one a Chiefs vehicle. I was laughing because I don't know what Chiefs rolling around in this, but it was like bulletproof and all of that stuff. And I sat in. They have a picture of me sitting inside the wheel. I could fit inside the wheel.
Oh my God.
I think that's what I want.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know any of my Chiefs that are rolling around in something like that. But yeah, they have all sorts of equipment. They got SPCAs, anything and everything you can think of. They usually tear apart a Tesla there and demonstrate that.
Say they got every piece of equipment, portable equipment, fire truck that you can imagine. That's actually where we made the connection with our gas truck 2 years ago.
Have you went and watched the 9/11 climb? They do that.
That wears me up just thinking about it.
Yeah, they do the 9/11 climb, and then they have an event where the firefighters compete. They do belly dragging, they do, ladder climbs, they do all sorts of different stuff. And they time them and everything. So it is a lot of fun. For me, it's very exhausting because I get there, I have to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then sometimes I don't get out of there until 1 a.m. and then I have to be back there at 8 o'clock the next morning. So, the first year I did it, I drove home right afterwards. And the parking garage that's over by Harry and Izzy's, over in that area, I parked there and walked. Well, at 1 a.m., it's not very safe. But I guess I didn't register with me and I got very scared. A homeless guy was like in my face and screaming at me and stuff. So I just turned around, which everybody laughs at this because I didn't know these guys either. I turned around and walked back into the Marriott, walked into the bar and said, "What firefighter wants to walk me to my car?" And so like 5 of them walked me. Oh, and my husband's like, "Did you know them?" And I'm like, "No, I think they were from like New York." So
Should say,
that probably wasn't a good idea either.
should have taken that bulletproof cheese to you.
And then one more question I forgot to mention. Do you guys know about the Supporting Heroes organization? Okay, so the Supporting Heroes organization, we're a member of them. They try to watch for anybody that has fallen in the line of duty, and they come out and help the families, and they give them some money to get them started, help them apply for all the benefits and everything. They have a gala they have in, I think, July every year. That we buy a table for, and people still have to buy tickets, but we sponsor a table and stuff like that. Wonderful organization. But the reason I say that is because a few years ago, those events, I'm one of those people that runs around all day and then I forget to eat. Or passed out when we stood up to say the prayer and the pledge. And it's very embarrassing when you pass out in the front of a room full of thousands of firefighters, EMTs, and police officers. So it's quite comical. And then the next morning, I come down for breakfast and they're like, "Oh, look, she's up, she's alive." So every year they make fun of me about it, but it was quite a show. So, all right, well, I'll let you guys be. If you need anything, you know where to find me.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
That's thanks.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Well. Continue. Who wants to go first this evening or anything to discuss?
I got a receipt for the ladder testing we had done. What, I don't know, 3 weeks ago.
Last meeting.
I kind of wish Dustin was here. I'm gonna bring this up. Jeff, chime in. I don't know what's gonna take place, but right now we cannot report. We have to report. So we have to report to the state every year, right? With all of our calls, we have to send it to the state. Or our software we currently have will not do that no longer. The county pays for that right now presently. So we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if they're going to keep paying for this, but there's going to have to be a change made and we're going to have to get a new software. It's expensive. So I know Matt Stenham, Frankfort Fire Chief, is working with the county on trying to get something set up to where maybe they still try to buy this. It's ongoing. I don't know what's going to take place. It could come in to where for us, all the fire departments have to pitch in some money to do it as well. So I just wanted to bring that up. That's some expense that may be coming our way that we might have to look at, but it's something that we're going to have to do, unfortunately.
Did you just get the email from Dustin?
No.
I just got it a little bit ago.
Okay.
He spells a lot of it out, but it's all unknowns.
Yeah.
But
So
bottom line is we're gonna have to do something because we can't send our reports to the state anymore since January 1st. Which we've got to send. So the way I understood his email, we have ERS right now. That no longer is compatible with the state's image trend system. So the choice is enter each call individually into image trend, which I am not going to do because that would take weeks to enter everything in. The other thing is switch to an ESO, which is acceptable by the state's program. Or we switch programs altogether to first due. And I think that's what the county's leaning towards because it's a better program. But that's all based on run volume. And I think everybody in the county's got to be on the same system for dispatch or it won't work. Like Steve said, I have no idea what that's going to cost yet. The chief at Frankfurt's been working on this since last fall with the county and trying to get them to fund at least part of it for us. I don't think they're real receptive. And I said, well, if you want to help us, we want to help
It
them.
looks like we're gonna have a meeting April 8th
Yeah.
for discussion.
And so by not since January 1st, so by not, is there a deadline or that you have to file these even though you can't file them?
Well, we're supposed to on a monthly basis, but
Okay.
obviously we can't
Right. Okay. Just
until
wondering.
something gets resolved.
Yeah, I was originally told that it was keep working. So I still have like November, December sitting in the computer that I can't send now. It wasn't, because I usually do it every 3 months, instead of every month. It's fine, and the state don't care as long as you get them in there, but. The county was originally balking with Matt about funding it through dispatch and. But we buy everything else through the county, through dispatch for all the cops, but they don't want to help fund us. They get called the trump card, the county.
So where would the meeting be held?
Frankfurt Fire Headquarters, Building 256. It's gonna be at 9 a.m., April 8th, 9 a.m. in the morning.
I'll get down.
April 8th.
I'd like to go to, I mean, obviously I work day shift, but I might.
Are the commissioner supposed to be there at that meeting? Are the commissioners supposed to be at that meeting?
We have invited the mayor, city leadership, councils, county leadership, and councils to attend.
It's all city and county officials then.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Yeah,
Okay, I just have a couple, 3 things. McAllister was here this morning and serviced our generator for the year. Evidently, everything's okay because they never called me back. There was an issue, so it's serviced for the year.
did it run okay when
Yeah.
the other week?
It came on, what night storm was, what was that, Thursday night? It came on and run for 4.5 hours like it was supposed to. Or like say for the one, the sewage plant, because it did come on.
Cause we were out about 15 hours at our place.
Better
What'd you say?
I said, that's because you don't live in the right area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we was out this low over 4 hours here in town.
Mhm.
Yeah. We're currently in the middle of a fundraiser, which just happened in the door. It's one night at a meeting. This guy comes in representing a company that does portraits. And, you know, it's the guy out of the lane. But the deal was, they do all the work. We do absolutely nothing. And so far, we brought in a little over $4,000.
Oh, that being said.
They say, okay, Michigan Township, they research how many households, all the addresses, they mail the flyers to them. with donate 35, 50, 75, or 100, 200, or whatever you want. And then in turn, they come here on a day to take a portrait of family, individuals, whatever that it's free to them. Then they can order more pictures from that if they want. It's a no lose. If we don't make enough money or get enough response, we just still don't pay anything because it costs. Depending on how many flyers they send out, it costs, maybe $1.80 to $2.25 per flyer with postage and mailing and all that stuff. So you gotta make so much for them to make their money back plus their percentage. But if they don't make that, they just don't make it. They take what we bring in. They still take the pictures. Don't cost us a dime. Like I said, we brought in a little over $4,000 as of today. And we have done absolutely nothing for it. It's pretty easy money. A little shocked at some people or businesses that I thought would donate or big farmers. Not seen anything, but then there's people that wrote us $200, $300 checks that I don't even know. Never heard the name before. So it's a no-lose situation. If you want an easy fundraiser, Stacey, I mean,
Well, okay.
other than that, we're starting our food drive. It's the 11th here, just collecting food from the food pantry. And Nick, I gave Roby a bill for fixing our exhaust fans in the restrooms because both of them would burn up, and a pro air contract. She got them to you.
Yeah.
And then I have a gas ticket for a gas truck. That's all I got.
Anything else, Larry? Any questions?
You get, either one of you guys or you got anything from where we build out that excess money we had budget for the next 5 years?
We're talking about the CIP.
That's what it is.
No, I haven't get anything. Did you get an email about the change in Kyle Nash's phone number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Nothing.
Are we allowed to use it or?
Yeah, I mean, you mean from your CIP plan?
Yeah, that excess money. I'm afraid to use it because I don't know what to,
Did you call and talk to Kyle?
I haven't done that yet.
It'll probably be the first line, but I would think you could since you have it in the plan, but I'm not an expert. Who is?
Have anybody down there used any of their money on that yet?
Not yet. Working on it, but not done it.
Yeah.
Tom, you, any questions on anything?
Nope.
Christie? Nothing? Brenda?
Surely you got something, Christie.
I don't, honestly. It's a miracle, I know.
If not, all in favor, say aye. All opposed.
All those who play.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having Brandy come in. That's good.
Yeah, we need.
Yeah.
Well, so we're ready to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yep.